This is the A-Team game on the ZX Spectrum, but it never existed. Let me explain. Of all the action serials of the 1980s, from Airwolf to Street Hawk to Knight Rider, all of which had a Spectrum game, the one that seems to be the most well remembered was the A-Team, and it didn't have a Spectrum game, or so I thought. The A-Team was so loved that I don't even need to go into my usual history of the TV show, because I think we've got a far more interesting story at hand. It seemed rather puzzling to my 10-year-old self that I could spend hours scanning the shelves of the local W.H. Smiths or Boots and never find a tape cassette with the great fuzzy chin scruff of the great B.A. Baroccas upon it, nor could I find the blue cap of Murdoch, nor the cheeky smile of Face, and George Peppard's cigar-chewing Hannibal was nowhere to be seen either. No review of an A-Team game would appear on any of the pages of Your Sinclair, Sinclair User or Crash. Ocean, Gremlin, Domark, even Alternative Software appeared to be terrified of the licence, possibly as terrified as Mr. T was of plane travel. Until 2010's mobile game prequel to the Liam Neeson movie that wasn't very good, the only A-Team game we had was this godforsaken horror in plastic form. There was an unreleased Atari game where you were a murderous Mr. T-head that was never released, but other than that, there was nothing. Nout. The biggest TV show of the 80s didn't have a game, but it did. It turns out that I was just looking at the wrong shop shelves. I should have been looking at the shelves of a Pharmacia instead of a Boots. There was an A-Team game and it came out in the 1980s in the land of tomato fights, cruelty to bulls and angry sunburnt British immigrants. I mean expats. Released by Zafiro Software and programmed by Javier Fafula and a small team, Equipo is your A-Team game on the 8-bit formats. It was also released on the Amstrad, the MS-DOS and the MSX. Zafiro were a publishing house alongside Herb Software, who were mainly known for distributing games made by the better-known houses from the UK, US and France in the Iberian Peninsula. Herb were by far the bigger company, having over 50% of the total share of distribution rights for games, and they also got games from Toposoft and MCM onto our shores, whereas Zafiro were truly picking up the scraps of what was left over, games like 1942 and Peter Beardsley's International Soccer. But how did a company with such a minimal impact get a huge licence like the A-Team? Pass! It was 1988 when this came out, and the show had been running since 1983, so it's a genuine mystery on why so many houses in the US and the UK passed up on it. Potentially it could have been Atari sitting on the licence for that unreleased game, and well, as the show ended in 1987, maybe Ocean and the others couldn't be bothered at that point. Maybe it was a losing deal for them, or so they thought. So what of the game? Well, it was an Operation Wolf clone, pretty much. So much so that you could use a light gun with it. A specific one, and not the one included with the Plus 2A that features in the opening credits of this video. It used the gun stick, which is compatible with a lot of Spanish games that you've probably never played, like the delightfully named Sootland and Bestial, a name that makes me think of someone misusing the lipstick of an engorged Labrador. There are no correct uses for a Labrador's lipstick, by the way. Unless you're a Labrador or the Labrador's girlfriend. Do they have girlfriends? I don't know. You are all the A-Team and you have two missions. One is set in an Arabian desert where you must battle terrorists, and another is set in a fictional European country called Tirania, where an invasion by other European countries is occurring. Already with this premise, the A-Team licence itself is losing a little familiarity. Most episodes of the A-Team involve the team taking on corrupt US businessmen or bullying rednecks to help out a regular Joe, sometimes with the help of Hulk Hogan. They weren't usually involved in the kind of missions depicted in this game, such as a military coup or a foreign insurgency. Another issue with the game reflecting the source material is that the A-Team in the show rarely hit anyone with their bullets, because genocide doesn't usually wash well with an early evening US and UK audience. Here, The villains explode into entrails, along with these random ladies who run across the battlefield. Yo ladies, run away from the gunfire. You wouldn't catch us running in front of machine guns. BA! Get back here! Jesus Christ, BA! That's a Fenton joke. 2011. Yes, BA will run out in front of you too. Why? I don't know. Possibly to remind you that you're playing an A-Team game. The only other indication that this is the A-Team game is that the A-Team van picks up a hostage at the end of the game. A game that can be finished in under 10 minutes. The A-Team game, or LA Equipo, to give it its full name, is very short. Maybe it was rushed to give the gunstick a bit of a big name boost in Spain. It certainly feels that way when you play the first completely silent stage. There's no music, gun noises, explosions or anything. The European stage suddenly restores the beepy boppy sounds of war, and it's a bit surreal that it just suddenly occurs in the second stage. The controls, they're okay. They operate pretty much as you'd expect of any Operation Wolf style game on the system using keys. There's the usual thing to worry about, ammunition, and you can also do like a screen clearing explosion using dynamite, but don't expect anything beyond this style. Don't expect any missions in the van, don't expect to be taken hostage and have to build stuff from whatever's in the shed. I always wanted them to get locked in like a pigsty and have to build like a tank out of pork. That would be great. But it doesn't happen here anyway. So, am I sad that I couldn't play the A-Team game as a kid? Am I envious of little Sergio sat in front of his 48k in Valencia? No, not really. In fact, I pity the fool. It's a competent but decidedly average and rushed Operation Wolf clone with very little relation to the series. Even the title screen is really poorly done. The digitised monochrome actors are really bad. Look at them. You can sort of make out who each one is, but if you told me that that was in fact Chevy Chase, the Grim Reaper from Bill and Ted, a burns victim after reconstructive surgery to make him look like Richard Gere, and a turd propped up in some sand, I wouldn't disbelieve you. So the A-Team then, decidedly B tier. Okay, thanks, bye. Or for our Spanish viewers, okay, gracias, adios.